Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now. If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
Restricted Airspace. Broadcasting from a secret location. A location the government insists does not exist. You're about to enter Restricted Airspace. With your host, Tina Marie. The unusual, the unexplained, the forbidden, conspiracies, the things you're not supposed to talk about. We do. This is Restricted Airspace. Now, your host, Tina Marie.
The red light is on. That means only one thing tonight. It's time to put on those tinfoil hats as I crank up KDWN's 50,000 watt station and attempt to abduct your mind and monitor your implants. Don't worry, it won't hurt a bit. To everybody listening tonight in Vegas and across the pond, a big thank you for making this show so popular in such a short period of time. I owe all the success to you, the listeners. I am Tina Marie, your 5'10" host with connections to all things paranormal. This is Restricted Airspace, so sit back, enjoy the view, and remember, question everything, trust no one. All right, before we get into our show tonight, just a couple quick reminders. I will be speaking next year at a couple different conferences. The Awakening Conference here in Las Vegas, March 28th through the 30th, and the North Conference. That's September 26th through the 28th in the UK, so you can get your tickets. They are available now. There are a limited amount of seats in a couple of these conferences, so please get those tickets early, otherwise you're not going to get to see me and a lot of other really, really great speakers. If you need more information, you can go to my website at restrictedairspace.radio.com, and all the information for those conferences are there. And if you actually are out there and you have a conference and would like to post it on my website, please send it to me. More than happy to post any of the conferences for the paranormal out there. Also, one quick comment here. Just want to let everybody know that we have, I'm going to be next Saturday down at the Area 51 exhibit. There is a great seminar. And if you have not been to the Area 51 exhibit or have not been to the National Atomic Testing Museum, I strongly suggest you go. The special lecturer over there is going to be Lee Spiegel. He's going to be talking about all kinds of stuff with UFOs, the Smithsonian, and all the UFOs that are in the media. It's a great event. It starts at 6 p.m. with a meet and greet, and then the 7 p.m. is a lecture. It's only $20 for members, $30 for non-members. This is a great opportunity. It's a hidden gem of Las Vegas, so I strongly recommend, if you have not been over there, take a spin over there next Saturday night. I will be there, and it should be a lot of fun. Major George Filer, we normally do our UFO traffic session right now, but Major George Filer actually contacted me. He was away on assignment, wasn't able to put together a report this week, but he will be back next week, so looking forward to his report next week. And let's go. You know what? I really want to get into my special guest here. We have a lot of time with her tonight. We have about an hour, so I really want to try to see if we can get as much as we can. And so tonight on Restricted Airspace, my special guest is author and TV personality, UFO researcher, and experiencer, Tracie Austin. Tracie witnessed her first UFO in 1987, an event that would later change her life. Her second daylight sighting occurred in May of 1996, a profound sighting of a black boomerang-style object that changed shape, and it was actually observed by other witnesses and made a second appearance later that day over her house. The television channel BBC Digital became aware of the sighting and actually featured her story, even reenacting it on a TV documentary called Over the Moon. So if you get a chance, check that out. In June of 1996, she hosted her first UFO conference. Radio appearances followed from that, and all kinds of articles in local newspapers, invitations to speak, because she's that good. A second conference followed in 1998, and in 2005, Tracie was invited to be MC at the 2005 annual MUFON Symposium in Denver. That is one of the biggest symposiums in the world. She was also Mistress of Ceremonies and Speakers at the first Women's UFO Symposium in Glen Rose, Texas in 2012. She is author of Welcome to Haunted Las Vegas, Nevada, which details true ghost accounts in the Silver State, as researched and documented by the Las Vegas Society of Supernatural Investigations. Her new book, which we're going to focus a lot on tonight, is Alien Encounters in the Western United States, and it details 9 true alien abduction accounts, and it features photographs of alleged alien implants that were surgically removed by Dr. Roger Lear, and we're going to get into that a little later as well as wonderful artwork by Caouette and depicting various alien beings that have been encountered. Tracie is the executive producer and host of her own successful cable TV show, originally produced in California, called Let's Talk Paranormal. Please welcome to the show a talented researcher and a good friend, Tracie Austin. Tracie, how are you tonight?
Hi, Tina. I'm doing great. A little tired, but I'm doing great. How are you?
Very, very good. Very good, as always. It's great to finally get you on the show here, because you have had such an interesting life.
Oh, boy. Haven't I?
And, I want to get into first, because people may not necessarily know this about you. You had your own experiences, and I think with a lot of researchers, sometimes this is what happens, and it puts you on a different path. So kind of explain your first sighting.
Okay, well, I have to take you back to 1987, and it was in London. I actually had a past life of musicianship. I spent 26 years of my life being a musician and studying very hard to be a concert pianist. And I studied at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. And it was while I was there in 1987 that I did indeed have my very first daylight UFO sighting, which totally changed my life and took me on a completely different path than the one I had originally planned. So, I was there. I was just with my best friend at the time. He was also a musician. He was a guitarist. And we were staying in the YMCA there at the Barbican. And we were having a conversation. I don't even remember what we were talking about, to be honest. It was such a long time ago. But we were having a conversation about something. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And as we're talking, I look out of the windows and I see this object in the sky. And there was no clouds whatsoever. It was a crystal clear blue sky day. And we're talking, I see this object, and I say, what the bloody hell is that? As you do. And this object, it was a cone-shaped object, was just in the sky. And it was rotating. And I could see the sunlight glinting off it, so I knew that it was metallic. And it was pointed at the top, it was rounded at the bottom, and it was rotating as it was moving across the sky, quite slowly, actually. And he told me what this thing was. He said, it's a UFO. I said, wait a minute, what do you mean? What do you mean a UFO? So he said, well, it's this craft that's either piloted, it's piloted by beings from somewhere else. It's either from another dimension or from somewhere in the universe. And I thought, wow, how bizarre, we stood there, we watched it move across the sky, and there was no fear there. It wasn't fear-based. I was just extremely intrigued by what I was looking at. And we watched it move across the sky and out of view. The very next day, we came out of an underground train station, which of course, tube stations in London.
Right.
And there was a guy selling newspapers at the entrance of the subway. And my friend quickly pointed out to me, "Oh my God, look on the front of the paper. There's an article about the UFO that we saw." There was no picture, there was no photograph, but there was the article of this UFO being seen over the city of London. So it was very, very evident that we were not the only ones to have seen that the day before. So that really piqued my interest, and upon seeing that craft, it kind of said to me, you know, you're not going to go down this path, you're going to go down this one, and you're going to find out about who we are and what we're all about.
And as a researcher, that's going to be because people don't understand when you go down that path. It's a tough decision to make because people are going to label you as the crazy lady down the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You don't go into making that decision. And people, I mean, so like you said, you were a very successful musician. I mean, you had a path that, I mean, you could have been in Carnegie Hall, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, what I did was extremely intense, Tina. I mean, it was a 7-hour day, working day for me, sitting at a, you know, with a piece of wood, you know, this instrument, trying to perfect series of notes over and over and over and over, and this thing just literally came out of the blue. And it's that particular sighting that got me to where I am today, and continued interest in this subject.
How do you take and deal as a researcher? Because you know, you've met with the ufology field has changed a lot over the last 20 years. And when you came into it, there wasn't many women investigators at the time. There were very few, and it was a male-dominated field. How did you kind of overcome that stereotype from the guys? Because, like I said, it has changed, not as much as it could have, but it has changed. But, you know, they said you were kind of one of those women that were the groundbreakers for, you know, a lot of the women that have since followed in your footsteps.
Well, that's an awesome way to put it. I mean, I never really thought of myself like that. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, and it has changed, and it was a male, you know, dominant, you know, area for research. You know, the passion of the subject and the whole intrigue of it, Tina, was what kind of drove me. I didn't really think of it in that way of just being this, you know, male society of researchers like that. I just carried on forward with what I believed in to be true, and still do to this day, that, you know, we are being visited by these beings from somewhere else, and made a lot of great friends, male, and later more females came into the picture, which is great news for ufology, because we have some really great, talented ladies out there who are throwing themselves into the subject matter, and I just strive to you know, try to bring something new to the table, as we all are trying to do.
Right. Well, before we get into, you know, into the whole alien aspect, you know, your first book, okay, that came out was, you know, the Welcome to Haunted Las Vegas. Now, people would think that it has to do with, you know, the buildings out here in Las Vegas, but it's not. You dealt with a lot of personal stories of people, and, you know, there are a lot of people that I've talked to out here that it's just amazing how many houses are haunted out here. So share with the listeners just one story from that book that just kind of put you on edge when you wrote it.
Sure. Well, you know, I wanted to do, as I always do, because it's my personality, I wanted to bring something different to the table with Haunted Las Vegas, and didn't want to do anything to do with casinos being haunted or hotels. It's already been done. I wanted to do something with residential, and I wanted to ask the question, you know, got ghosts? Does Nevada have ghosts? Well, yes, it does. And an abundance of them, an abundance of paranormal activity out here in this desert. So I wrote about 18 true ghost haunts, and this was with a great team of people that are called the Las Vegas Society of Supernatural Investigations. They are real-life ghost hunters. And there's lots of different chapters in the book. There's 18 of them that cover, ghosts at Nellis Air Force Base, for example, a haunted park, a hotel, an unusual cemetery, and people's homes, residential, both old and new. And people are under this misconception that it's just old houses that have ghosts in them and spirits, but it's actually not. There's just as many new homes as there are old that are having ghost activity, and it's mainly to do with the land that they are built on. My own home out here in Las Vegas is very close to an area called Wallapai, and obviously, it is an Indian. Wallapai is an ancient Indian tribe, and I've always suspected that there is actually something in my home, and got the impression that it is an Indian gentleman that comes to visit every once in a while. However, the book, one of the particular stories that I really enjoyed writing with the Las Vegas team was called Writing on the Mirrors, and it's actually the second chapter in the book.
Okay.
And some hauntings are more intense than others, and as it turned out, this investigation turned out to be one of those many cases where this ghost had every intention of letting itself be heard, seen, and felt, and would actually do everything it possibly could to remain in this family's home. And with this particular case, we dealt with a pseudonym name, obviously for the book, called the Robinsons' home. Extremely beautiful home that was in the Summerlin area. It was a 14-room home, approximately 10 years old, and it was once owned actually by the Howard Hughes Corporation. And it had no prior reports of any such activity whatsoever. And we have this Mr. David Robertson, who was a successful businessman. He owned the home. And in 2005, he actually wrote this lengthy email to LVSSI, the Las Vegas Society of Supernatural Investigations, stating that his wife and his son had recently moved into the home in Summerlin, which is a very nice neighborhood of Nevada, as you know, and were extremely disturbed about a number of ghostly occurrences that were going on. And, like anyone moving, they were very happy and excited to move into this beautiful dream home of theirs. But they became quickly worried and concerned because they didn't expect to be sharing their house with a resident ghost. And there was a whole myriad of things that would happen over a 9-month period of moving in. And it had gotten actually so bad that David and his family had decided that, enough was enough. So they contacted the paranormal investigations group to see if they could help. And he listed all the occurrences in this email. For example, the ghost liked to switch on all the television throughout the house. No particular channel, but just that of a snowy white screen. The gas fireplaces would all be turned on randomly. Lights, ceiling fans, and bathroom fans were also tampered with. And they were so disrupting, like I said, that, things got much, much worse. And this spirit decided to take much bolder steps in trying to communicate with the family by writing messages on the mirror in the bathroom. Yikes. And the glass shower door in their master bathroom. And these messages, Tina, were not happy ones whatsoever, and they were extremely direct. It really bothered the family considerably, especially David's wife, because she was the one that would always find them. And there'd been 5 written messages over the course of these 9 months, and the words that were written were actually, beware. The spirit wrote the word leave on the mirror, missing the E at the end of the word leave. Boo, I see you, and mine. And David started to keep a journal notating all of the activities that were happening. And they noticed that there was also a lot of activity around their guest bedroom as well, where the family kept many, many antiques. And I just want to point out to your listeners, keeping antiques in your home is not always a good thing to do because it can attract unwanted spirits in your space.
They carry energy.
And especially if they haven't been fully cleansed beforehand. So, although these objects were prized collector's items and hold high value, let's not forget that they can often be, extremely old and carry a certain amount of history attached to them. So, anyway, so this was a lot of stuff, I think, in relation to the antiques that were brought into the home in the first place. And so, Mr. Robinson went on to say in his email to the paranormal group that he'd never believed in the supernatural whatsoever, but he now started to believe that something definitely does exist. And he went forward on to say that he wanted to set up a meeting with the group, which they did, and they carried out the investigation, and the team actually themselves did get to witness writing on the mirrors themselves.
Wow.
They actually saw the word beware written on the shower glass door. And they described it, actually the writing, to be like that of a wax crayon to the touch, if you were to touch it. And, or resembling that of a smear from a finger, when the glass steams up. Mm-hmm. And the writing had no color to it whatsoever. It was clear. And they said even touching it felt really, really strange. And they described the letters of the writing to be very distinctive and in an old English type of writing style from the 1700s with lots of scrolls and curls to the letters. So, of course, the team immediately started to take photographs of the messages, and unfortunately, when the photographs were later developed, they didn't really turn out to be too clear due to the reflection from the camera flash in the glass. Yep. So, the team are a great team. They are their own best skeptics at all times, and, of course, when analyzing the photographic evidence, they always make sure that what they have collected is genuine paranormal phenomena before showing it to anyone, and certainly before, putting it onto their website. So,
now, let me ask you this: Did the people leave? I know I wouldn't.
Well, actually, no, they did not leave. The team were able to get rid of the spirit. Okay. So, and I have to point out here that the team always start and end with a prayer. And it's usually a St. Michael's prayer of protection. So they recite these two prayers, opening and closing. Okay. They do this, they stand, they close their eyes, they bow their heads, and quite often saying this prayer, they can feel when the spirit is immediately left, as, the house becomes much quieter, and then they know that the spirit has actually left. So they did get rid of it, but, a week after cleansing and being there and cleansing the home, it did have a positive impact on the home, and the Robertsons were, really grateful, obviously, that they were able to get rid of it. But a couple of weeks later, the Robertsons contacted the group again because they were horrified to see yet another written message appear on the bathroom mirror, and this time the spirit had actually written the two words, "No God."
Wow.
So, again, each letter was extremely long in length. It was as if the spirit was trying to overstate the message to the family. So the team headed back to the house and repeated the cleansing ritual again for a second time, with obviously more intensely that time, and did eventually eliminate negative energies from the home.
Wow.
So they did stay.
And that's just one of the many stories in that book. I mean, people have to, if you haven't had a chance to get that book because those stories are chilling.
Yeah, well, if you can imagine seeing it before your eyes, letters being written on a mirror. There's no one around.
You couldn't. I would be out the door quicker. I would have a for sale sign in that house quicker than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
I tell people, give me a UFO. I'll run to the UFO. I'll run to the alien. But you give me a ghost, I am out the door.
That's funny. And they did actually, they set up all their, EMF meter equipment, detectors, electromagnetic equipment. They did have EVP recordings as well. They did record a distinct male voice that was speaking 3 times at different points on the tape. And these voices were not heard at the time of the investigation, however. It was only when they played the EVP back. Right. And the first EVP said, "I scare the brother." The second EVP begins with the investigator asking a team member the question with the flashlight on or off. And you can hear one of the investigators, who's also named Tina, you can hear her voice replying, "Off," to which the spirit voice says, "I know." And then there's a third EVP, which begins really quiet, and then after a few words spoken by the team, you can then hear the spirit voice saying, "This is my house."
Wow.
So it was, recorded and documented by the team.
Okay, well, we're up here in a hard break. We're going to take our break at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, I want to get into the alien encounters in the Western United States because I want to talk about the graves. I want to talk about some of the work that Roger Lear did with the implant. So hold on the line, okay, Tracie?
Absolutely.
When I come back, we're going to mow with Tracie Austin. Goes, I am your host, Tina Marie. You're listening to Restricted Airspace, your underground connection to all things paranormal. If you have a question or a comment for Tracie, please call into our hotline at 702-257-KDWN. That's 702-257-5396. Again, 702-257-5396. Now it's time to get up, shake that sleep paralysis from your mind with a little help from Danny Rogue, like Satellites, taking us to break. We will be right back, everybody.
Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie after this. Now, back into Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie.
Are we all just satellites where the love shone at night? Here's the moment we unite. Oh, all we know, life's just a dream. Who the hell knows what it means? Stop the world and sing with me.
Welcome back to Restricted Airspace. I am Tina Marie, your pilot and guide on this mothership, speeding at light speeds to the universe towards Zeta Reticuli. I absolutely love that song. That's by James Blunt. It's called Satellites. A great song. It's a good way to get that blood pumping at 2:30 in the morning here at KDWN Studios. Links to all the songs this week are featured on my website at restrictedairspace.radio.com. Follow the Amazon links and get your copy now. Do you have a CD or song you might want featured on this show? Maybe a conference or an event you want highlighted? Have a new book that deals with UFO, ghosts, conspiracies, or the paranormal and would like to be a guest on this program? Then drop me an email at Tina Marie, restrictedairspace.radio.com. That's Tina Marie, restrictedairspace.radio.com. Right now I want to welcome back my special guest, author, TV personality, UFO researcher, and experiencer, Tracie Austin. How are you, Tracie?
I'm doing okay.
All right, now let's
for a Saturday morning.
For a Saturday morning, I know this. I live in the night. I'm a vampire. Just don't tell anybody.
I won't. It's a secret.
So let's get into, because I'm very interested in the whole alien field. In fact, I met you at a UFO support group out here in Las Vegas. And,
yeah, that's right.
And I want to get into your book here because this is interesting because it's very difficult for abductees to share their stories, but you did get some that shared their stories with you, and it's called Alien Encounters in the Western United States. And it's just a fascinating read because you read the different stories, and there's a lot of focus. I mean, there's a lot of aliens. I mean, but a lot of your stories have to do with the Greys, the Zeta Reticuli. Mm-hmm. And what I find fascinating, and it's something, I didn't know until somebody brought my attention. Now, with the Greys, when they abduct, we all know that they abduct, family lines that go all the way back. They tend to follow, especially with the Greys, and especially the little Greys. But one of the things that I always found that not a lot of people talk about, and it's the fact that a lot of these abductees have what they call Rh negative blood, which, if people don't understand what that is, the Rh in the blood it stands for rhesus monkeys. Okay, now if you're positive, if you're an Rh positive person, this gets traced all the way back to the monkeys. But if you're Rh negative, they can't trace you back to the negatives. And it's only like 16% of the people in the world that have this blood type, but yet it is shown to be, in with most abductees, to happen with the Greys. I mean, what is your take on that?
Well, to be honest, Tina, from my own research and people I've spoken with over the years, yes, this rhesus negative blood type does seem to play quite a major part in it. Not to say that abductees, are all rhesus negative. They're not. There's, just as many that are O positive or B positive or whatever. But rhesus negative is a universal blood type, so you can give to anyone with this particular blood group. And it seems to be that these beings are interested specifically in people that are, rhesus negative. It's not the only thing. I mean, they're looking for certain characteristics within the DNA. They are following family lineage. So if you've been taken, it's very likely that your mother's been taken and your mother's mother's been taken. They are very interested in this family lineage and the gene pool, right, as part of that, along with, bonus points if you're rhesus negative, I guess. And
it has to go back to, your take. I mean, at least my take is that they're creating this hybrid race, and this goes back way, way before. And I have a lot of friends of mine that are that have seen their kids up on crafts. They have seen hybrids that they know are part of them. Why do you think the Greys are doing this?
Well, like you said, from my own research over the years, and from what I've researched from 1987, along with other great researchers out there, some that are unfortunately, sadly, no longer with us, but the Bud Hopkins of the world and Dr. John Mack, they are trying to create a hybrid race. There is reproduction involved in this program of what they're involved with. All fingers are pointing at that because of what we are coming to learn from the abductees that we speak with. These abductees have spoken about, what they've been put through when they've been on board the craft. That they've had, in some cases with women, they've had fetuses removed, didn't have any sexual activity whatsoever, and find themselves suddenly like the Virgin Mary. They're carrying a child, and didn't know how it happened.
Or they go to the OBGYN and they're trying to get pregnant, and the OBGYN says, well, geez, you've had some miscarriages, I see scar tissue. And they're like, no. Exactly. This is what we're finding. And documented cases also with the OBGYNs and the doctors. There's something very, very bizarre going on. They're creating this hybrid race that these abductees are suggesting they have seen their alien offspring on board the craft, if you like. I hate using the word alien because it's just such a cliche word, but it's what people are used to, I guess. And it's in the title of my book, Alien Encounters in the Western United States. I guess it is alien. But, these beings certainly have an agenda.
We don't know if they're coming close to the end of the agenda, if it has, or if it's still going on. Research into my book, I found that there was 4 million Americans alone. These are the people that have just come forward to talk about, hey, I had an abduction. What about the people that haven't come forward to talk about their experiences? And there's some, still back in the woodwork here, not coming forward with it. So are we looking at 11 million worldwide, perhaps?
Right.
It's quite a major thing.
And over the last, I've noticed in the last year with some of the research I was doing and contacts that I have that, for whatever reason, these abductees and these UFO sightings have got increased over the last year. And what I find, like you said, what I find interesting is when you have those kind of numbers, yet you have people, even in our own government, that want to, you have, 8 kids get killed at a school and it becomes a national event. You have 1 million people abducted and nobody wants to talk about it. And I just find that fascinating that the kind of programming that we've had since birth when it comes to these events. And I think people are starting to wake up, at least the people I've talked to. I'm seeing more and more people finally stepping forward to say, you know what, I'm going to tell my story because I feel like I have a piece of the puzzle. But I just think now is the time where a lot of these abductees are starting to realize that it's accepted. 20 years ago, if you came public with your experience, and I remember talking to Travis Walton, and Travis's comment to me was, I said, well, what would you have done differently? And he said right to me, he goes, I wouldn't have got out of the truck, because...
Yeah, exactly. And with Travis, Travis, also said to me at one point, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was a stupid thing to do. But when you see something that is a craft, and I had a craft hovering over my car 200 feet in the middle of Studio City back in 1991 with my now ex-husband. And when you see something that totally takes you, and it's unconventional, it's hanging there, and it's 200 feet above your car or whatever, you just go with the flow of it because it's almost like it's magical. It's totally magical. Here you have a humongous craft, 200 feet above the car, totally silent, and it's not displaying anything that we have been taught about conventional aircraft. And you just go with the flow of it. So it's understandable that Travis did what he did because we were ready to do the same thing. We got our hands on the door handle of the vehicle, ready to get out and stand underneath this thing. And we got the windows wound down on our car, and we were hanging out the vehicles looking up at the understructure of this thing.
Right. Now let me ask you, because when you did your research, there are a number of different species. I know talking to abductees that, certain ones have had certain experiences, and there have been a number of different species, so to speak, visiting. Some people say there's 62, some say 68, some say 12. There's a variety of different research that has different number of species coming and visiting. When you did your book, because you have 9 stories in this book, is the consensus that most of them are by the Greys, or did you have some experiences there from the? I believe in the book you had about the tall whites with Charles Hall, about the Indian Springs, and you also talked about the Nordics. So how many different species during your course of investigations have you come across?
Actually, there's been about half a dozen. Personally, and some of my own personal experiences as well. This book was mainly targeted around the Greys. That's what the majority of the people that I spoke to have had their interaction with. And as most people out there know who follow the subject, it does seem to be that these Grey-type beings are the ones that, are implanting abductees. There are the tall Nordics, as you've spoken about, the good guys, if you like, the
almost like Palladian types.
Yeah, tall, blonde, blue eyes, beautiful looking, very benevolent. Nothing negative about them whatsoever.
They look like Thor without the hammer, right?
Yeah, they look like, I just forget his name, Fabio. That's it, you've got, of course, the reptilians as well that I've spoken with a lot of people about who've had encounters with reptilians. Not so nice beings. I think it depends on, how up on the echelon level you are of these reptilians. Barbara Lamb, a good friend of mine and yours, Tina,
yes.
have met with a reptilian.
She's on next week on my show. So
wonderful, and she actually wrote the foreword into my book here. So
see that.
Yeah, so there are a few different beings out there, the short type beings as well.
Let me ask you, because we have only about 10 to 12 minutes left. I want to ask you about, because you were very good friends with Dr. Roger Lear, who talks about the implants.
Yes.
And you know him very well. You know his work very well. So share a little insight, because we talked during break that he has, he had 16. Now we might be up to number 17.
Yes, I had a conversation with him about a week ago. And it seems that there's another implant, a 17th implant, that he may be removing.
Wow.
If the gentleman in question decides that what he wants to do. So we've got to see what happens with that. Excuse me.
Now explain to my listeners here, because some of them don't understand what he's done with those implants, where they went, what he's had tested on them, and what was found. So share with my listeners a little bit of that story.
Okay. Well, you've got to remember, I don't know if a lot of people know much about Dr. Roger Lee. Maybe they do. He's the only person that's actually doing this. But he talked about, if he was told 30 years ago that he'd become the world's leading researcher on this subject of alien implants in human beings, he'd have thought they were totally insane. Excuse me. But his science background and training and work grounded him in a severe state of, scientific skepticism with all of this. But he, from removing these objects, found out that, these were not the typical things he's removed from the human body. And the findings have been quite astonishing. With these objects, there's never any inflammatory or rejection reaction by the body. Ingrowths of specialized nerve cells. There's no visible scar or portal of entry. There's emissions of electromagnetic fields when in the body prior to removal of them. They also emit radio signal emissions, which is mind-blowing, and metallurgical findings which include meteoric iron, rare earth elements, non-terrestrial isotopic ratios, carbon nanostructures, selective isotopes, which cannot exist alone in nature, strange-shaped objects such as ovoid spheres, rectangular crystals of varying sizes. And he said to me that they've recently been able to calculate that the materials composing the last two surgically extracted objects come from 1/3 the way across the Milky Way galaxy.
Wow. And
they represent a civilization at least 30 million years older than we are. So, these are phone, right? Quite something.
Wow. See that, and that's the thing, is people don't understand, like, these were taken out, they've been tested, and I just don't understand how mainstream science has not jumped on this more, because like you said, the material itself is strange. The fact that it's giving out a radio signal, and I know there's a lot of speculation. People have said, well, it's a tag and bag. That's what we are. We're being tagged and bagged. But my take on this is that those are not really necessarily being tagged as much as they are in some way monitoring us, whether it's our emotions, whether it's our physical status. I look at it as, nowadays, if they want you to try to swallow those little pills that have little cameras in them, Mm-hmm. To me, it's like that they're embedding this, and all this information about our bodies is being sent to them. It's not a tracking device like a lot of people like to say, that it is basically monitoring all our, vital signs and sending it to them for whatever reason they are monitoring monitoring us in that way. What's your take on that? Well, it looks like we might have lost Tracie here for a second, so we're gonna go to a quick promo, and I'll be right back, and we will finish up here with Tracie in just a second.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about. At least, not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
All right, we have Tracie back here. It's just, you know what it is, Tracie? It's the government. You're talking to something you shouldn't be talking about.
Yes, right at the implant moment.
That's right. See, you're in trouble now.
Bring it on.
Well, and you know what? And it's funny because when I was part of Majestic 12, we had times where we had a couple of guests on, and there were certain topics we talked about, and when all of a sudden, I don't care even if they're on a landline, we talked about that they got cut off, and we joked about it, you know.
Of course.
But you have to sit back and you have to ask yourself,
You have to sit back and wonder.
Is there something to this? So, you know, so let's get back to these implants here. So he's got another implant that's he's looking to take out. And these, what I'm interested in is these people who have had these taken out, have they all been from the graves?
Yes, they have. And the thing is, Tina, when these things are removed, I was actually present for the removal of one in the early 2000s from an airline stewardess's arm. The thing is with these abductees, they all say the same thing, that once these things are removed, they all have this newfound sense of freedom. So it's as if that, you know, these things are taking some kind of control over them to some degree. Okay. And they get their own, you know, their own willpower back, so to speak. You know, and Dr. Roger Lear himself didn't know what they were doing. He thought they were tracking devices at first, but he said no, these objects, he believes, are for genetic purposes, and they are selecting people with specific blood types, and could this, you know, be the reason why, you know, that they're following people with, you know, certain characteristics like this as monitoring devices, and not tracking devices, which he now believes is the case.
Okay.
And of course, these things show up on X-rays, they show up on CAT scans, or on an MRI, so the proof is actually there.
Right.
And it's very interesting, because Dr. Lear did talk to me about a case in Brazil that he'd been working with some time ago, where a woman had two objects placed in her left great toe and didn't want to have them removed.
Wow.
And she'd been specifically told by whoever these beings are that had placed them there that she should not remove them. They do get pretty pissed off when you remove these objects.
Wow.
And so, and she was very fearful about having them taken out. And they showed her a demonstration that was most likely, Dr. Roger Lear said, to intimidate her. And this was these beings were able to stop an insect in midair, in mid-flight, with some kind of a beam of light, and told her that no matter where this particular insect traveled on the planet, they could find this specific insect absolutely anywhere.
Nice.
So it's trying to intimidate her in some way, so she never actually had these things removed.
So Tracie, because we're just about out of time here, where can people pick up your books?
They can actually go to any bookstore. They can also go on to Amazon.com. They can also go to the Schiffer, my publisher, website directly, and get that from there.
And how can they get in contact with you?
They can reach me at my email, Tracie, Tracie, 1, as in the number 1, TV, at yahoo.com, or by simply going to my website, letstalkparanormal.com.
Okay, well, I want to appreciate you for coming on and staying up late with me.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure.
And it was definitely nice to touch base with you. And I honestly recommend for my listeners out there, if you have not got those books, you need to get those books. They're just an absolutely fantastic read. Tracie really knows how to interview somebody and get the story down on paper. So take a chance, go out there. Tracie, I want to again thank you for joining me here on Restricted Airspace, and you go get some sleep now.
I will. And Tina, thanks again. You've been a gracious host, and thanks for having me on tonight.
Okay, you're welcome. We'll talk to you later. Bye. I want to thank Tracie. Don't forget, you have to pick up her books. It's, Welcome to Haunted Las Vegas, Alien Encounters in the Western United States. For more information, for Tracie's books, I have all the links on my website at restrictedairspace.com, or you can go to letstalkparanormal.com. All of Tracie's information, all the stuff that she's got going on, and trust me, this girl has so many things going on. You got to go take a look. Also, don't forget to get your tickets for the Awakening Conference next year in Las Vegas, March 28th through the 30th. Put that down on the calendar. And the Paranorth, September 26th through the 28th in the UK. I will be speaking at both these great events, so I hope to see everybody there. Also, don't forget next Saturday night, National Atomic Testing Museum, a special lecture by Lee Spiegel. You don't want to miss that. For the small amount of money, it's worth going. It starts at 6 o'clock. You have a meet and greet, 7 p.m. It's a lecture. I highly recommend if you get a chance, go out there, see the Area 51 exhibit, see the Atomic Museum. I've said this before. I've been there a number of times. It is a gem of Las Vegas that people overlook. They think about the casinos. It's great. Special thanks also to the staff here, KDWN 720 AM. Thank you so much. But most of all, a big thanks to all my listeners for making this show one of the most talked about shows here in Las Vegas and around the world. As always, I am humbled that the show has taken off as much as it is. I really don't know what to say about that. Also, don't forget, next week, my special guest, Barbara Lamb. She's going to join us talking about crop circles, abduction, hypnosis, regression, just everything. She is a fantastic person. I'm lucky to have her on. This is Restricted Airspace. I am your host, Tina Marie. And as always, remember, question everything, trust no one. Until next week, everybody, have a great weekend.
If there's something you want to talk about, something you want to know, something you were afraid to ask, then this is the show for you. Follow us every Friday night at midnight as we enter Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie. For more information or to contact us, go to restrictedairspace.radio.com. Restricted Airspace.